Well, good night. Um, this is Parry Aftab, and this is the last session for our Put Kids First virtual summit. It was not planned, but one of our really honored guests and someone we love and respect a great deal from Nicole Stevenson's panel last night, New York time, and in the morning. Brisbane and Sydney time, had problems with his internet connection. Malcolm Crompton is one of the leading experts and always has been on digital privacy. He was the privacy commissioner for the country of Australia. I probably knew him 24 years ago, 23 years ago, when I first got started working with Australia on cyber safety and digital privacy. And we had many of the same friends. Um, and he has so many valuable things to say. So I wanted to turn this into a live. On LinkedIn Live, you're limited to videos that are under 10 minutes unless they're done using LinkedIn Live, and very few of us have access to that feature. So I thought we'd use this to make it live. I may have gotten the time wrong. Brisbane, which is where Nicole is, and Sydney, which is where Malcolm are in different time zones. And obviously, I'm just outside of New York City. And so I've had problems in the past, and it's perhaps possible that we had some problems with Malcolm and Nicole tonight on figuring out the time zones and daylight savings time, which New York went to 2 weeks before the rest of the world. So I'm going to use this time. If they show up, wonderful. If they don't, I'll get a video and we'll put it into the archives. But I'm going to use this time to talk a little bit about what I expected for the Put Kids First virtual summit, and I think what we ended up with. So initially, we did it because we couldn't do a summit offline, and the issues of child sexual predation, exploitation, the production and sharing of child sexual images, and sexting and sextortion and all of the things we've seeing really needed our attention. And I've talked over the last 3 days to leading law enforcement experts from around the world, um, mental health professionals, psychiatrists with children, those who are dealing in mindfulness. I've dealt with people from New York State school system who deal with technology and professional development for schools. And we have brought in kids, we brought in moms, we brought in people from all aspects of what I call the cyber safety ecosystem. And we were looking at one particular issue. And the reason I had selected child sexual exploitation online or facilitated online was because A, it's crucial, and B, there are very few issues of political concern here. You're not arguing about whether it's free speech or not. You're not arguing about whether children have different values in the United States than they do in Bangalore, India. All of us recognize that our children should be safe from sexual abuse and free from perhaps targeting, blackmailing, and sex trafficking related to images that they may be producing because everybody else is, or a cute girl or boy asks them to take their clothes off. And it's important. So we have decided at this new charity. So I created the first internet safety charity in the world, and that was about 26 years ago now. We've always been all volunteer. That includes me. And every time we run out of money, I'll sell my house and live in an apartment until I can earn it back. And we do what we do because we believe in the internet, because it has so much promise. And we believe in people. And over the years, Wired Safety, which was the name of the original charity, that continues until the new one is formalized. Wired Safety protected everyone from birth to death, senior citizens, even post death, when someone in your family dies and they have points and they have assets online and they have accounts online, and somebody needs to control them and get them and retrieve what's important pictures, other things that may be in the cyber um, cloud and wherever they are located on drive someplace else. And so we've dealt with that. We've dealt with sonograms sharing information about a child or their parents. And we looked at privacy and we looked at cybersecurity and we looked at safety. And we helped people. I think what made us different from the cyber safety groups that followed us was that we were providing one-to-one help for people when they needed it. Somebody had taken over their account, someone was posing as them, someone was sending them malicious code or had hacked into their devices, somebody was trying to groom their children or had groomed their children. There are all these things that require people to help you address, especially in the old days. You know, we're dealing 26 years ago, having somebody at the other end of your computer to help you when things went wrong was very valuable. Over the years, things changed. Other groups came in. Some started doing curriculum for schools. Others started doing more conventions of industry. Some, although they weren't supposed to be in the United States because they were registered 501c3, which means you're a charity, were lobbying and getting out there as spokespeople of the industry. There were many people we met with lots of integrity and passion who really did put kids first. And there were others who we believe sold out, who put profits over people and put what they thought was good for business over integrity. And as that happened, we started looking at things again. We had trusted the industry for a long time. And a lot of the people I've spoken to over the last 3 days did as well. And we stood between government who wanted to regulate and the industry who are hoping to have the ability to create best practice standards, self-regulate. And we said, you know, give them a chance because they really care. We know them. We've worked within them. We've talked to them. We work alongside of them. They cooperate. And unfortunately, I think we were successful. And for many years, many of these were trustworthy. And for many years, many of these became untrustworthy. All you have to do is watch hearings before the US Congress or in the EU to see the answers that people are getting when they ask questions of those who run these giant organizations. And then you start sifting through and saying, well, who can I trust? And there are not many companies that I say I can trust anymore, not the giants. I trust Microsoft. They've earned their trust with me. They're not perfect, but they've done some really good work and they've put, I think, humanity above profits in many cases. And when you do that, it's amazing how profitable you can be. I think IBM has been a leader here. I think Cisco has been a leader here. I think that there are so many who have done a good job. And then there are others that need help. And those are Google and Amazon and some of the others who do a good job sometimes and don't do a good job other times. And there's some that I think can't be salvaged, and that includes the Facebook group of companies. So those are my personal opinions. I run a 501c3 and I'm not lobbying. I'm just talking as Parry Aftab, internet privacy and security lawyer, not as the founder of the Cybersafety Group or as the executive director and founder of Wired Safety. So as we look at this and recognize that kids need to come first, we've pierced a lot of fake news of people who said things can't be done when I've talked to people who tell me it can. We've looked at it and said, you know, well, maybe a new, cool, fun app that will do this by collecting information from our children or from us and perhaps using it and sharing it in ways we're not comfortable with. Maybe it'd be fun to have, but sometimes fun to have doesn't outweigh good to have, right to have, responsible in running it. A number of people over the 3 days have talked about the comparison of the digital industry, the internet industry, in having immunity in the United States in 1996. We gave them pretty much absolute immunity, and it got bigger over the years. There were 2 law cases. One said they were responsible for what was posted online. The other one said that they weren't. So to settle it, they put a few lines of words in a paragraph into a law that later found unconstitutional, but those few words remained. And in it, it said, whether they do something or don't do something, whether they profit from it or not, whether they could do something and decided not to. Essentially, they have immunity, and that means you can't go to court and enforce what you consider your rights because their rights trump yours. Um, Now, for the first time since 1996, U.S. Congress is looking at that. And Senator Blumenthal and Senator Lindsey Graham have both proposed a law that will change things. And it's saying to the industry, if you want immunity for what people are doing and saying on your platform, then you have to earn it. And that means you have to follow best practices or standards or frameworks or principles that are established by a group of people who know enough about this and hopefully will be included in that. I think we've had more experience than just about anyone else. And if they do that, then they can have immunity for the rest of it. And if they don't, we're going to let the lawyers loose. And in the United States, we have a very long history of jurisprudence where when companies chose expediency over what was right, the lawyers got involved. And not all times are the lawyers right. And I do have to confess that I'm a lawyer. But there was a case that we often use and when we talk about it. It was the Ford Pinto case. And Pinto was a car in the lineup that Ford had. And they had their fuel tank a little too far back. And if it was rear-ended, often the fuel tank would explode and people would die. And Ford knew about this. And they looked at it and they said, well, we think it's going to happen based upon our experience X number of times a year. And out of that, X percent will sue us. And out of that, they will recover X dollars. And it will cost us more to change the design than pay the people and the families, the survivors of the people who died. And in the United States, under product liability, litigation, and so many others, we get justice through the courts when someone goes in and says, can't do this, and they get a lot of people who care about it, and often they win. And so we need to set the lawyers loose on this one. And let's let the dogs out and the lawyers. And if you want immunity and you don't want the lawyers coming after you for what's going on, if you're doing it wrong or you're not doing anything at all, then do it right. And after that, we'll protect you from the lawyers. Otherwise, we are going to see a lot more antitrust. And maybe that's the answer. I've always said it wasn't. And maybe we're going to see a lot more advertisers pulling out. And maybe we'll see a lot more people saying, I don't like this anymore. And maybe getting behind new big platforms where they could share funny cat videos and what their sports team did this week. As we sit at home, far too many places in the world, to wait out the coronavirus, to flatten the curve, we are existing almost entirely online. It's how we talk to our aging parents. It's how we educate our children. It's how we order goods and services. It's how we work. It's how we get telemedicine and medical help. It's how we exist in a new world that is ever increasingly digital. And while we're here, look around a little bit and say, are my kids engaging in the internet far too often now while they're home? Am I? Am I doing things that I wouldn't have done if I could go out and hang out with friends or go to a bar or go to church? Let's look at our lives a little bit and turn off some of the technology whenever we can and think about the lives we want and then think about the internet we want. And when it comes to children, I think they need to come first. So when I say put kids first and turn it into a hashtag, I mean it. A great deal of my life has been devoted, unpaid, doing what I do, trying to make sure children are safe. And I've been lucky enough to have tens of thousands of people who volunteered their time and their expertise to help. And we're now seeing generations of kids I trained at 13 who are senior partners in cyber law firms and making policy. But if we decide that children come first, we have to do something about it. And I've got a lot of things we think we can do. I'm going to gather all these crazy LinkedIn lives and Facebook lives I've done and videos that people like the man who invented the internet and the international a Center for Missing Exploited Children, and Thorn on their new technology that's being developed and run under Artemis with some great companies who are trying to make sure that children will be safe, and we take the power of technology to keep them safe from abuses of technology. And I'll take those and I'll put it into a big website. We're calling cybersafetylive.com because it was a live summit. And you can go back and look at them. We'll have an analysis of what happened. I've often been a rapporteur, which are the person who takes notes, sort of the secretary of UN conferences, and tells you at the end what happened. And I'll do that here. And you can go down and say, well, I want to look at the mental health things. I want to hear from moms who's lost their daughters to sexual exploitation online or sextortion online. I want to talk to people in the criminal justice system. I want to talk to child psychiatrists and those who deal with mental health of children, or maybe you just want to talk to the kids themselves and see how they feel. So we'll make it easy. We'll make you smarter. We'll give you insight to people that I have been fortunate enough to meet or know or encounter in my life, who I was able to con into showing up online for a half hour, an hour, talking with me and sharing what they know and what we need. I think we need to turn around and say, enough is enough. This is a great technology, but we left them alone too long. As John Rouse and I said, John Rouse is the top law enforcement officer in Australia on these issues and one of the top in the world. And we both looked at each other and said, we took our eye off the ball. And we did. We trusted when we shouldn't have trusted, and we waited too long to fight back. So today, we're fighting back. And today, I'm giving you all of the information you need to know enough so that you can fight back too. And even if fighting back just means saying to your kids that you're going to throw the ball around or do a puzzle or a board game or read a book out loud or watch a funny movie or play with your dog or cook or just cuddle, making sure that they are safe and your family is safe and that the generation of the future knows how to use this technology in a way that improves the lives of people instead of destroying them is what I do. It's what my life has been dedicated to. It's what I've sold houses and emptied bank accounts and retirement funds and my inheritance because I believed in this. And it's time that we all need to believe in it. And we'll start here. When this is done, we'll go on to the rest. But this is the most important issue when children are being tortured, raped, and killed for the pleasure of the few who enjoy that. And not on my watch. And my guess is not on yours either. So we'll find a way to find Malcolm and Nicole and get them back online. But I don't think it'll be tonight because I'm ready to go to bed. So thank you so much. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for sharing. The real movement, the real development, the real sharing starts now. It's not who watched it live. It's who shares it now going forward and learns from it. We'll be supplementing it over and over. And next week, much sooner than I thought we would, I'll pull together some of my best friends in cybersecurity and safety and privacy, and we'll talk a little bit about what you need to know about keeping your home, your work safe, and your children safe during the corona isolation and work from home. There's some things you can do and things you need to keep your eye on because this too is something we need to look at. Stay safe, stay well, stay engaged, be hopeful, because this too we can fix. So thank you so much to everyone. Thank you to those of you who made me cry and made me laugh over the last 3 days. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you've learned something. And I hope we continue to learn and engage together. Bye-bye.